as a teacher, I gotta say, my favorite time of year is definitely summer. But eventually the summer comes to a close and you have to go back to school unless you want to quit, but I'm not quite there yet. So in this video, we're going to talk about some tips to help you prepare yourself for going back to school. Now, last year I made a whole video about how to prep your store for the back to school season. And that really talked about things like products to make and changes to make to your store and like prepping your store. This video is going to be more about like prepping yourself physically and mentally to get ready to go back to school, because it can be a really hard transition if you are someone like me that maybe has been working a lot over the summer and enjoying all of the time that's work and also enjoying all the time that's play and rest and all of that, to going back to being like busy, and especially back to school time, because it's not like you kind of ease your way into it. It's more like you're thrown into the fire pit and it's just like crazy town. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how you can prepare yourself for back to school to make sure that you are as ready as you can be to go back and hang out with your children at the school. Not your personal children, your other children. Here we go. Number one is going to be to prep as much as you can beforehand. So what I mean by this is batching as much as you can do, or making as many products as you can do, so that you have less to worry about when you go back to school. So I'm specifically thinking about, you know, I obviously do YouTube and I also have a blog. And so one of the things I have been focusing on this summer is getting ahead on YouTube and getting ahead on my blog, so that those are two things that I don't need to stress about as much when we go back to school. I'll still have stuff to do. It's not like I'm just gonna like leave it and not remember anything about it again. But if I have some extra stuff ready, but it's gonna give me a little bit of a head start and just help me feel a lot more comfortable. So two ways that I'm doing that. Number one is I have been batching all of my blogs, which will be a video, which might be before this or after, I have no idea. As you'll see in a second, I'm batching my videos too, and so this is way early, like it's beginning of June, and so it's actually making me really sad to talk about the end of the summer, but alas, here we are. So I'm batching my blog posts, and I'm trying to get all of them done. I've never done that before. I've only done like 3 months at a time or 6 months at a time, and this time I'm doing all of them for the whole next year. It's been a lot, I'm not gonna lie. I do post one every other week now and not every week, so that does help a lot, because that's literally half of what you need to do. But it's going pretty well so far. So far I am 14 in, so I'm over halfway there. But I really looked at like, how can I make next year easier for me? And that was a big thing, was if I can batch my blog post over the summer when I have more time, it's gonna be one less thing to stress about during the school year. I do still have work time in the morning, but last year I kept like not finishing the blogs, and so that was a big sticking point for me. I felt like I was batching blogs forever. So this system will hopefully work pretty well for me. I guess we'll see. Another thing I'm doing is getting just a little bit ahead on YouTube, and so I post 1 video per week, right? So I'm trying to get 2 videos done every week. That way I have the one that's going out this week and then also 1 more. So that's gonna get me a little bit ahead as time goes on, because I'm getting 1 week further ahead every week. And that way, when we get back to school, if there's days I can't film, if I don't, you know, get things out quite as on time, I'm early enough that there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, at least for the first couple months. So that's kind of like an extreme example and a less extreme example of 2 ways that I'm working on content. You can also do this with like Instagram. You can like film a bunch of reels, you can take a bunch of pictures, those kind of things. You can type out your descriptions and save them on notes, and you can save them in a notes app, on Trello, or even just on Instagram itself. I do that a lot if I have like an idea, but it's maybe not the best thing for today to post. I'll go ahead and find the picture and I'll type out the whole like description, and then I'll just exit out and click save as draft, and that way I can come back to my drafts and I can use that one later and it's already completely ready to go. I just gotta click is, you know, share. And so that's another way that you can do that if you are focusing more on the social media aspect. That's what I don't do as much, because when we go back to school I come up with a bajillion things that I want to say, and so that's where I get more of my content. But that might be something that you want to look at before going back to school this year. All right, number 2 is going to be store related, and that is make sure that you have some back to school products ready. Specifically back to school products that you're going to need. So think through like the first couple weeks of school, think through what you're gonna need and go ahead and make those now so that they're ready to go and available for other people to purchase. This is especially important if you are someone who goes back to school in September, because half of the US goes back to school in August and the other half goes back in September. Which means that if you don't go back to school until September, then you're missing out on like a whole month or even a month and a half of people purchasing back to school stuff. So if you can get that stuff out by, you know, mid to end July, you're gonna be in a much better position. I have no idea when this video is going up, so hopefully it'll be relevant, and if not, you can put it on the list for next year. But go ahead and have those back to school things ready so that they are, you know, ready to go. People can purchase them and you can use them. That's like a double whammy of it's gonna help you and it's gonna help your store. So make sure you get that done. I'm really trying to think through back to school and what I need and all of those things as well. So these, y'all, my videos always come out of things that I'm working on, so there you are. Number 3 is make sure to get your rest in. If you are like me, and I know a lot of you are, you might be a little bit of a workaholic. And so like the past 2 summers, I've gotten to the end of summer and I've been like, I don't think I stopped working at all. Like I just worked the whole summer. So this year I'm really trying to be intentional about like, yes, I'm getting work done. Yes, I'm prepping things, but also making sure that I'm, you know, spending 3 hours at the pool, or if I want to watch a movie, I can watch a movie, or just little things like that to make sure that I am like well rested and ready to go back. Because I know for me, like mentally, I have to be prepared to go back. And that's one of the biggest things, is if I don't get enough rest during the summer, then I don't feel ready to go back. It's the same thing over the weekend. If I don't get enough sleep over the weekend, if I don't rest enough over the weekend, if it's too busy or if I'm working the whole time, then I'm not ready to go back on Monday. But if I use my weekend to relax and to rest, yes, to prep things, but to rest, then I'm ready to go back to school on Monday. So use this time to make sure that you are, you know, reading all the books, taking all the baths, going to the pool. I really don't want to talk about baths because the heat index is 104 today. And that was a couple hours ago. It might even be worse now. I was outside and I was like, I'm gonna die. But anyway, go to the pool, go to the beach, like chill out and do as much chilling out as you can. If you have kids, make sure that you play with your kids, spend time with your kids, because that's something you're gonna miss when you go back to school and you can't just do that. If you are, you know, a dog mom, then spend lots of time with your dog, do all the cuddles, because they're gonna be sad when you go back to school. So make sure you just get all that stuff in now. Number 4 is to make yourself a schedule. So this is very important, partially for me, because it's really hard for me to go from like I can do whatever I want at any point of the time to things are very busy. So before you go back to school, make yourself a schedule of what you're gonna do. Now obviously, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day are accounted for, but before school and after school, like what time do you need to wake up? What's your morning routine gonna look like? When are you gonna work on TPT? What are you doing in the afternoon? Are you, you know, like driving people around to different sports programs? Are you working on your business? Are you laying on the couch sleeping because it's exhausting being a teacher? Like what is it that you are doing throughout the day? Now, obviously you don't know like 1000% what you're gonna do every single moment of every single day, but go ahead and make like a, you know, just a general idea of like, here's what this might look like, so that when you get back to school, you already have a plan and you know what to do. This is especially helpful, again, if you're someone who really wants to work on your business. Like y'all, I love working on my business. That's why I do it so much, is because I love it. And so I want want to make sure that I'm going to be able to work on my business when I go back, and I need to like be mentally prepared for how much time I'm gonna have, and I want to make sure that I'm gonna be able to make the most of it. I love that as teachers, we kind of get like 2 beginnings of the years. So we have like, you know, the January beginning of the year, and then we have the back to school midway. I guess that doesn't happen if you're like in Australia. But US teachers, we get like 2 beginning of the year, so you can like reset, you can refine everything, make sure things are working. Like, y'all, I've got to adjust my schedule because what happened last year is not working. So this year's gonna have to be different, and so making a schedule is something that's gonna help me to be prepared and know what to do and all of that. And you can make sure that you're scheduling in rest, and you're scheduling in fun, and you're scheduling in work, and all of those things. Number 5 is gonna be an optional one, and that is make a plan for the next few months, which might sound like the same thing as I just said. But as I was talking about having like a new beginning of the year, it reminded me that I also like to do in like July a like revision of my goals and my plan for the year, because now that you're halfway through the year, you can see where you are, you can see what you've done, you can see where you're headed, and you can make a better plan for what's gonna come next. So go ahead and think through, like, look at your goals from the beginning of the year, see like, do I still care about them? Do I not care about them? What needs to change? What needs to stay the same? And how can I make them, and how can I make the most of the next couple months of the year, because we still have a lot of time. That might seem overwhelming if you're like, oh my gosh, but it's back to school and then also new goals. If it overwhelms you, don't worry about it. But if you're someone like me who thrives off of clarity and goals and things that you can check off of lists, this is a really helpful thing to do. It's just to make sure that you know, like, what are you expecting yourself to do over the next few months. And number 6 is going to be give yourself grace. Going back to school is really hard, and like I mentioned, you don't just ease your way into it. You go in and it's like slammed from the beginning, so busy with so much going on, so many new things. Gotta prep your classroom, gotta come up with lesson plans, gotta meet all these new kids, gotta like do all the things. So give yourself some grace. If you don't work on your TPT shop at all throughout the whole first month of school, like, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Don't stress about it. That's why we prepped things ahead of time, so that you could do that if you needed to. But just don't stress so much about it, because when it comes down to it, a side hustle is supposed to be fun. So if you're not having fun, like, what's the point? So make sure you're having fun, and if you're not having fun, like, it's okay. In life, like I mentioned in my Happier Teacher Life book, you have different seasons where different things are differently important. That was a horrible way to phrase it. I did it much better in the book. In some seasons, some things take priority, and in others do. So for example, over the summer, school is not a priority because you're not at school unless you're teaching summer school. But for most of us, school is not a priority because you're not at school, you're not teaching, you're not doing any of those things. So other things become a priority in the summer. When you go to back to school, then school is a priority because that's like the most important thing happening right now, because it's so busy and it's so much, and you're trying to set up the year for success. So it's okay if you kind of like do more TPT over the summer, less when you get back to school. Like, it's okay. Don't completely forget about your store, but give yourself grace and know that you're doing the best you can. You're gonna be real tired the first couple weeks, and so just do whatever you can and don't stress about it. You should not be stressed about your side hustle. Talking to myself, you should not be stressed about your side hustle because it's supposed to be fun. So make sure that as you are going back to school, as you're getting all those changes, that you're giving yourself grace and you are not stressing about your TPT shop. If you need to give something up, that's going to be the thing that you give up for a little bit, and that's okay. That is 6 things that you can do to make sure you're mentally prepared to go back to school. I'd love to know what you would add to this list, so leave it down in the comments so we can all benefit from it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.